It's Tuesday, the 26th of June, 2012. I'm Alex Jones. Welcome to another edition of InfoWars Nightly News. Coming up.
Tonight, NATO and the UN express their supreme authority as reports suggest Western military intervention is in full swing in Syria. Plus, the UN receives $500 billion from world governments and corporations to accelerate Agenda 21, the march toward global governance. Then, millions of genetically engineered mosquitoes are released into the wild. And Gerald Celente joins Alex Jones via video Skype.
When Obama was down in the polls, go back to April of 2011, when Donald Trump was on his case. All of a sudden, we wake up on a Monday morning, they got Osama bin Laden. Obama's poll numbers skyrocketed up to 60% plus. It's the oldest game in the book, and they keep playing it over and over again, and the gullible people buy it. So what I'm saying is, enough. We know this game, we've seen it before, and that's why I'm helping to launch with you and others the Second American Revolution.
Also, Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy Corgan talks with Alex Jones in an explosive interview. That's up next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
First off tonight, things are moving in a very dangerous direction in Syria. We're going to be breaking down the fact that al-Qaeda, on record, Fox News, LA Times, you name it, admit is being used to take over Libya and now Syria, and they're the good guys, and I'm unpatriotic for not supporting al-Qaeda. In fact, I'm a conspiracy theorist for pointing out before it was even in the news that al-Qaeda worked for the banks that have hijacked this country and that mega banks had taken us over and conquered us, but now CNBC admits that. But that makes me even more wrong. That makes my entire crew even worse. How dare you be dead on and right and be right first? Like Mark Twain said about a patriot is a scarce man, hated, feared, and scorned. But in time when his cause succeeds, the timid join him because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. No, they say that you're wrong, but you're right, but you're bad, and they're good. Let's get into the first nightmare situation. Military sources out of Israel, this is at Infowars.com, we have links to Debka File and others, say British commandos are operating in Syria, Assad compound under siege. Reports suggest Western military intervention is in full swing. And just like in the Downing Street and White House memos, Bush and Tony Blair wanted to paint up U.S. aircraft like UN, fly them low, get them shot down or crash them to blame it on Saddam as a pretext to invade. Regardless of what you think of Saddam, that is criminal. That's a false flag. But even though that's been declassified, well, first leaked, then declassified, I'm not supposed to talk about it because being informed and knowing how stuff really works is a bad conspiracy theorist. So, hey, Iraq war was real. It was good. He had nukes. And he ran 9/11 too. And maybe patriotic here. Al-Qaeda is good. Of course, I don't agree with that, but I'm supposed to give my rights up because of Al-Qaeda. But Al-Qaeda is good in Syria and Libya, and the State Department funding the Muslim Brotherhood. You know what? I'm just going to do whatever I'm told, so I'm trendy and cool. I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist because Obama's truth squads and others we're going to talk about coming up. Yeah, there's the article. That's how London Guardian. Bush told Blair the U.S. had drawn up a provocative plan to fly U-2 reconnaissance aircraft painted as UN colors over Iraq to get it basically shot down and then blame it on Saddam. There you go. That's the London Guardian. But again, they're conspiracy theorists too. Get those traitors off of there, okay? Just Gulf of Tonkin never happened, even though they admit they staged that to get us into Vietnam. Operation Ajax is declassified stage terror. Operation Gladio. So many other events. Let's just ignore all that, okay? Back to worshiping known liars, okay? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm going to worship known liars. I'm a trendy. All right. Anyways, back to the new event. So they're flying F-16s into their airspace. Syria warns them last week. They said, you're doing bombing runs. with your U.S.-bought F-16s, big part of NATO, Turkey, who the Bilderberg Group wants to attack them first. We've broken that down. NATO, U.S., British forces massing on the border of Turkey and Syria, massing on other borders as well, the one there in Jordan. And all of this is going on. There's some footage of the plane getting shot down. So it's flying over their airspace and then turns around after the missile's been fired and gets shot down. Not that you can see much on that tape, but it's admitted that the aircraft got shot down. Actually, that's a conspiracy theory, too. That didn't happen. Of course, they say it happened, so it must have happened. But if tomorrow they say it didn't happen, I'll be a conspiracy theorist if I point out that they said it did happen. Because remember, they control reality, like Karl Rove told the New York Times. And continuing here, Turkey now threatens to attack Syria. They say they're going to keep flying planes over their territory. They're going to put up with it. Or they're going to attack them. And they say that if they move any military forces around their border, as Syria masses forces, that they're going to attack them that way. So that's a new deal. It's like, if I see you in your own backyard, I'm going to come over there and beat your brains out with a baseball bat. Yeah, and I'm going to fly some, I'm going to come in your living room, and I'm going to piss on your rug. And if you try to throw me out of there, well, I'm going to shoot you. So they come knock on the door. Get out of the way. Where's the rug? Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Turkey. The rug is right over there. Please enjoy yourself. There you go. So they're running an old trick once again. There are those reports. Continuing here, all too predictable, Patrick Henningsen reports, Bilderberg plan to force NATO member Turkey into Syrian war, and he goes over the fact that we've all predicted that this indeed was coming and part of the larger plan, and that there are Russian forces there now ahead of this, so this isn't going to go the way of Libya. This is going to be quite nasty. Now, we're going to get into the next report here that I filed, over a year? When did I file this report, dude? I forget the exact date on it. Seems from memory it was a couple years ago. I put together this Al-Qaeda hoax report just showing you some of the articles from that time period where it was admitted in plain view that Al-Qaeda was a Western creation used to overthrow countries all over the world, used to fight the Russians, used to attack the Serbs, used to attack us, and then be used as a pretext to take our basic liberties. So we're going to go to this report, and then I'm going to give you the latest news where it's in mainstream media that Al-Qaeda works for NATO and the U.S. government. But coming up, they have libertarian truth squads now that are saying we're not supposed to talk about it, or we're not trendy and cool, and we're the ones causing problems in America. If we would just stop living in reality and let some little neocons run everything would be fine. So that is coming up. Let's go ahead and go to this report from several years ago. We'll find out the date while it's playing. The system thinks you're stupid. They think you're morons. And I'm about to cover one of the biggest examples of this in modern history. One of the biggest hoaxes I've ever seen. Anyone who's followed the news for the last few decades, anyone who's researched admitted mainline history, knows that Al-Qaeda was CIA created with the backing and support of the Saudi Arabians and the Israelis, as well as Pakistani intelligence. Zbigniew Brzezinski's written 2 books bragging that in '79 they created the group, had them attack the Russians to get them to then invade Afghanistan so that the Soviets could have their, quote, Vietnam. This is a fact. And the Muslim brigades being controlled by British intelligence goes back to Lawrence of Arabia. And then Hitler took over the Middle East during the first few years of World War II, and they went over to his control. But the hoax is that in the attack against the Serbs to take over Serbia, it was admitted Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden running those operations. And then NATO came in and bombed all of Serbia, and they were forced to give up 1/3 of their land, basically to Albanian-backed Muslim rebels who were calling themselves Al-Qaeda. Then, of course, we have the attacks of 9/11 and the Newsweek headlines about hijackers trained at U.S. bases, and the dean of the Defense Language School coming out and saying that they were trained at U.S. bases. And then you have the Times of London as well reporting on the airlift of evil. Months after the Afghanistan war started, U.S. military and British military captured thousands of top al-Qaeda and Taliban commanders, and they would be ordered to release them and fly them out into Pakistan to start the next wave of destabilization. So al-Qaeda, on record, is a CIA/British/Israeli/Saudi Arabian creation. And they're used all over the world. And then you add to that Fox News, AP, last October 2010, reporting Anwar al-Awlaki, the guy they're now saying is more powerful than Osama bin Laden, trained in the U.S., ran the underwear bombing, the Christmas Day event, ran the Fort Hood shooting, ran the Times Square attack. The list goes on, the shoe bomber. He's always handling these patsies, and it turns out he's secretly hanging out at the Pentagon when he's been on the most wanted list and getting orders and having dinner with the Secretary of the Army and top brass while he's on the news as the head of al-Qaeda.
Julie Kurtz joins us from Washington. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, here's what we know. Fox News has learned that Anwar al-Awlaki, the American Muslim cleric, remember him with a worldwide following, dined with military brass at the Pentagon within months of the 9/11 attacks.
Now, you add to this hoax now that the openly Western-funded rebels in the east of Libya, and I'm not saying Gaddafi's a good guy. The point is the West overthrew Egypt and its own puppet to the east of Libya. They've brought down Tunisia. Now it's admitted that British special forces were inside eastern Libya even before the latest rebellion started. So al-Qaeda rebels, and it's admitted that the head of the Libyan rebels was trained by the CIA for decades in Virginia, and he admits that he's working with al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda. And so I have to get up here and either say no to this hoax and expose the facts or say I'm a bad American, because I refuse to say that now al-Qaeda are freedom fighters and great people. I must refuse to be ignorant and not face the facts of history. But the average gullible person out there who buys into the system will make the decision to say, oh, I guess al-Qaeda is good. It's like 1984. We've never been at war with East Asia. And the next day, we've always been at war with East Asia. And if you pointed out that, well, you said we were at war with them yesterday, but we're not at war today, and that we were never at war, then you get arrested in that system. And that's basically where this country and where the West is going, where the system thinks we're so stupid that Western intelligence is in the east of Libya using radical Muslim al-Qaeda backed out of Saudi Arabia and arms out of Saudi Arabia and Egypt to destabilize Gaddafi. Gaddafi then fights armed force trying to overthrow the government, and our media calls them protesters. Protesters who had tanks and missile launchers and Western weapons. Oh, the poor protesters. And the media lied and said he strafed protesters. Turned out that wasn't true. The media lied and said that he'd run to